Please read the disclaimer. The Fed just confirmed they have no choice. Hello, beautiful people. Shalom, money makers. We're going to talk about XRP and the crypto market. What's the current status and what did the Fed just say in a recent speech? I just got an alarm that potentially we could have some ballistic missiles coming at us in a few minutes. So if we do have the sirens, I'll pause for a second, and sometimes we don't. So it's we'll see what happens. Right now, XRP is sitting at $1.32. You can see that XRP has sold off a little bit since the morning. Bitcoin similar, 66,679, up 1%. Ethereum 2.5%, but you can see it's pulled back over the past few hours. Same with the stock market that actually started off okay and is now turned into the red. NASDAQ as well, selling off here significantly. It's kind of funny because I think it was someone from Iran said that that's the play every weekend. Trump has the market optimistic, and then pre-market, it's the futures are up, and then market sells off. It's kind of what happened. So it's funny how that played out. If you go and you look, oil is at 102. So again, still over $100, silver at 70, and gold at 4,500. So the market is very interesting right now. But not anything too, bananas that is happening on the markets. I think it's a short week. I think it's Easter, could be. Wait, let me see. I know it's Passover, but is it also Easter this week? Is it a short week? Maybe. Maybe, I don't know. It's Passover. Maybe it's short week for some people. And so potentially we're going to see what will happen here with the crypto market in the next coming days. If we go and we look at Yahoo here, nothing too critical, but we do have what the Fed said. So the first thing that the Fed did say was, speaking at Harvard, he admitted that the Fed is trapped between two bad choices, right? There's downside risk to the labor market, which suggests keep rates low, but there's upside risk to inflation, which suggests maybe don't keep rates low. Meanwhile, Trump is demanding to cut rates immediately. And he also had these two sound bites here, so let's take a listen.
What's clear is that our debt is growing much faster. The federal government debt is growing substantially faster than our economy, and that ratio is going up. And in the long run, that's kind of the definition of unsustainable. The level of the debt is not unsustainable, but the path is not sustainable. And so it's really important that we get back to. We don't have to pay the debt down. We just need to have primary balance and begin to have the economy actually growing better, growing more quickly than the economy. It will not end well if we don't do something fairly soon. This is not the Fed's job, of course, and I pretty much limit myself to those high-level points which essentially everyone ignores.
So we've talked about this multiple times about the U.S. national debt and the crazy number, 36 trillion, 7 trillion, I think 37 trillion right now. And he says, listen, the national debt is growing substantially faster than the economy, and it's not sustainable. Now, can they, reduce it to zero? No. But can they, pause it? Potentially, yes. Okay, so I have to pause the video actually, and I'll be right back in a few minutes. Still alive, still here. If I got you already, I just want to remind you that this video is for educational purposes, for entertainment purposes only, not financial advice. Always do your own due diligence before you decide to invest. Also remember that I will never contact you on social media asking you to sign up to anything or to send me anything. Those are scammers, those are imposters. I will never DM you. I will never send you anything. Please be very careful out there. Okay, back to the Fed. Powell had also to say this.
We've had to face a much smaller source of inflation, which is the tariff inflation is visible, and we think it's really just a one-time price increase. That's been our thinking since the beginning. Right now, we think it's adding somewhere between 0.5 and a full percentage point to inflation, but that's a much smaller thing than we saw during the pandemic inflation. And and of course now we're facing events in the Middle East which will certainly affect gas prices, and we feel like our policy is in a good place for us to wait and see how that turns out. We've had to.
So basically saying here, hey, the tariffs weren't as bad as we thought, 0.5%, 1%. It's, but that is, in line, and we'll have to wait and see what comes from the Middle East. How long is that prolonged, and how long will that affect the price of gasoline? And of course, that will affect inflation. And but that is going to be something moving, because once things finish, the prices of oil will drop significantly, and then months after that, inflation will come down. The inflation that has been caused by oil will come down. So you'll see some numbers that will be high, but their expectations will be that they will be high. It won't be a surprise, right? If there's a surprise and suddenly inflation is a lot higher than expected, then you could see the markets significantly dropping. But if everything is expected, so then it's a totally different story. Okay, so that's important to remember when we're talking about the markets. And it's interesting because XRP net flows turn green as the price holds versus the stock market. Good sign, right? So we're seeing XRP continue to hold or to not drop as much as the stock market and the S&P 500, the Nasdaq, have been dropping over the past few weeks since the conflict started. We've talked about this, how crypto has held a little bit better than the rest. Silver lining, I know that that's not what you want to hear, but the crypto market has been holding better than others, and so that you can take that, and if you want to look at that in a positive way, that's something that we can look at. The markets continue to be very, very volatile. A small headline like this, where you have Google releasing TurboQuant, an algorithm that reduces the amount of memory AI models need to run by Sec 6. And then we started seeing, sell-offs and things like that happen. Of course, we've seen how recent updates from Anthropic have, just destroyed certain sectors. And it seems that this is going to continue to happen in the next coming weeks. And this is building up upon the fact that the stock market has been selling off because of the conflict, right? You'll see all kinds of companies that have been selling off because of the situation that's happening in the Middle East that have nothing to do really with Anthropic and Claude Code, but they continue to drop because the general market, the S&P 500, is dropping off, and we talked about that a few days ago, or so it was even a few weeks ago, when I drew this kind of sad arrow to the downside, talking about how this potential crossover on the 1348 EMA could signal to us that that is what we are about to see. And that's exactly what happened. S&P 500 has dropped around 8%, which is big, because remember, S&P 500 on average over the past 100 years is given a 12% return. So if it drops 8%, that's significant. It doesn't move like that. If XRP drops 8%, we're saying good morning, right? But when the stock market drops 8%, that's significant. Remember, it's big, huge companies, and so a lot of money. When that moves 10%, it's a significant amount, right? The total crypto market is 2.28 trillion. Just NVIDIA alone is more, right? Of course, 4.02. So just NVIDIA itself, if NVIDIA moves, 5%, that's $400 billion. Sorry, 10%, that's $400 billion. So it's a significant amount of money anytime the stock market moves, whereas crypto market is still smaller, for better or for worse. And then sometimes it can be moved in a little bit more aggressive way than people want. But if we're looking now at the daily chart, we can see that XRP is at the way bottom of the stochastic RSI. Is that a signal that potentially we could see the crypto market recover? We'll have to see. This is going to be very interesting to see how this plays out over the next coming weeks. And again, day to day, things can happen. Trump can say one thing one day, say something else the other day, and the markets can pump or dump. So always keep that into consideration, that anything can happen. As always, remember to subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Drop a comment, 8 for infinity and beyond. And the easiest way to support the channel is to just smash that like button. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you next time. And like I always say, let's make a lot of money.